Hello, my name is Erica, and I'm co-host for this amazing retreat that you're all taking part in. And I am having a wonderful guest today. Her name is Nicole, and I'm going to introduce her in just a bit. But before we go on, I would like to just mention that this retreat was created with the purpose to help you, dear viewer, release the emotional blocks created from the past and perhaps exacerbated through the pandemic. And the tools that you will see and hear about in here, provided by these talented and multi-skilled healers, coaches, and alike, can be used in the comfort of your own home to cultivate mindfulness, inner exploration of self, and move you to a more positive state of being and mindset to create more improved quality of life. Nicole she speaks from the heart of the soul and to the heart, to the soul. And she's an empath, lightworker, and soul communicator and influencer too. She comes from a family of 8, and she's the youngest of 6. And from her young age, she was surrounded by nature that she found her sanctuary in, feeling present in her body in it, as well as feeling everything around her, the trees, the flowers, and even the people. And in 2010, she found herself in a very dark space that forced her to look deeper within to pull out the light that was always there. She's a magnet for people who are wounded and lost, and she is a massage therapist as well, and a mother of 5. And she lived through many seasons of the night of the soul, and that she's gonna speak more about that. So, Nicole, welcome.
Thank you. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here. Yes.
Likewise. So tell us more about your journey and how it all began, and what was your turning point in your life, I suppose?
So it has been a life full of struggle, loneliness, a feeling of being alone, that even as a young child and being the youngest of 6 kids would seem odd because I'm always around people. But then all through my life, still feeling alone, not quite understanding what that feeling was. I would find when I would be able to be out in nature, especially in the woods, I didn't feel alone. I felt the energy and the vibration, I think, of the trees and of nature, and that really spoke to my inner being, what I call my soul. And you know, I mean, from about the age of 5 on, I've had to figure out, navigate tends to be my favorite word now, because that's what it is. It all is. It's navigating this and navigating that. I really struggled with the things that I was taught. I was born into an Irish Catholic family. My grandparents were strict Irish teachers, and I went to a Catholic school for all 12 years. So for me, I had this underlying knowledge of unconditional love. I knew that people should love unconditionally. But I wasn't able to put boundaries with that unconditional love. So through my teen years, I felt kind of lost and wondering what I was supposed to do, more so than a teenager becoming a teenager. I felt something stronger inside of me. In fact, I remember being about 17 and Oprah was still on TV. And I remember feeling the sense was, I'm going to do something that I'm going to be on Oprah. Like and I've now learned that it didn't necessarily mean I was going to be on Oprah, but yes, I was put here to do something bigger and something of magnificence, which took a long time for me to kind of awake to what it was. So I married like a high school sweetheart. It was a very difficult marriage because we were married young. There was a lot of mental health issues, a lot of growing apart onto different paths, but we had 4 children because I loved my childhood and loved being a mom. But in the relationship, my ingrain of unconditional love kept me in a very abusive relationship. And I would, there was physical abuse, mental abuse, spiritual abuse, even. Like, I was not allowed to be who I truly am. And I kept saying, well, if he had cancer, I wouldn't leave. And so I'm loving unconditionally. Until one day I was pregnant with my 4th child. I was 9 months pregnant, and I took a shower and I just knew I'm done. I'm done with this relationship. And it was such an overwhelming knowledge that I got, that I didn't grieve the marriage. I didn't have any panic about not being with that person, but that set up a whole new journey of navigating being a single mom with a newborn, a 2-year-old, a 6-year-old, and a 9-year-old, 3 of those being boys. So trying to figure out, I knew I was a great mama hen, didn't know how to be a rooster, wanting to, putting my kids first in everything, wanting to make sure they were okay with everything. And that was very mentally challenging. That the ending of that relationship was very mentally challenging for me, because the courts got involved, money and power and who you know got involved. It was very distorted and very unfair. And that was my first sort of breaking point in my life, because my ex-husband decided that he wanted custody of our children. So I was a stay-at-home mom taking care of these wonderful babies. He met somebody and went to Vegas and got married and decided he wanted the kids. I was getting a large percentage of his income. So unfortunately, money was a factor. And after our court process, he actually won. And that began my spiral downward into one of my dark nights of the soul. I came from a place of loving and being and nurturing, and my children were taken, basically. And I remember the day that it happened, even the police showed up to make sure, basically, that the kids got in the car with my ex-husband, and they were clinging to me. All 4 of them were wrapping their little hands around my neck and my arms. And I was told that I had to stand with my arms straight out, or that I would be arrested for not allowing them to leave. So they're peeling my children off, and the feeling was just death, pure death. And they're peeling my babies off of me. They're putting them in the van. As the van drove away, they were pounding on the window, calling, "Mama, mama, mama." And I just dropped to the ground in the middle of the street. Just my body completely shut down, dropped to the ground. A neighbor came out that I didn't know and said, "I've never seen anything so horrifying." And then I don't know what happened to me for the next 3 days. I think it was just complete shock. My body, it was more than I could handle. It was more than I could handle emotionally. So I had to figure out how to climb out of that. And it was a lot of sitting by myself through pain. I had to feel the pain. There was no way around it. It was the most painful thing that has ever happened to me. And oddly enough, there was sort of a distance between friends and family. They kind of left me alone. And I had to go through that on my own and get out of it. And as best I could. But I didn't get out of it. So that was in about 2006. And I didn't come out of it until close to 2011.
Wow.
So for those, 5 years, I lived, it was a feeling of just walking death. My body was here, but it was not a function. It was not an existence of, I wasn't living.
Mhm.
I was just breathing and moving because I was alive, basically. So having to go through that, and eventually I got a job and just, told myself, okay, I have to function. I have to do this. And when I did, later, it turns out that I was actually diagnosed with PTSD chronically, because every time I saw my children, I would come alive, right, to care for these children, and I would be alive, and that was my focus, and I loved it. And then every time they left, the trauma would hit me again. So it was a constant state of shutting down, being alive for just a few moments, shutting back down, and that eventually it can change the chemicals in your brain when you live through that much trauma over and over, and it's repetitive and it breaks you down. And that's what I felt like. I was just breaking down and breaking down and breaking down, and lost, not knowing myself what to do. How am I supposed to get out of this? I have always believed in angels, in my guardian angel.
Mm.
I had visions when I was little of my angel being present with me. I also had horrifying night terrors that would paralyze me when I woke, and the I'm trying to think of the right word, like the pretense or the situation of all of my nightmares were someone was coming to get me, and I had to do the impossible to stay alive. And this started happening when I was very little. And all through my marriage, I had those nightmares, and nightmares like, I'm being chased into a basement, and the only way out is through a very small window that has broken glass around it. And I have to get out, or I'm not gonna make it. The thing is gonna get me. So about 2010, I had completely broken down inside. Everything. Couldn't find anything, couldn't find any solution for anything. I had been hospitalized for depression, so there was some medication that was sort of helping, but I still remained very lost. And I actually ended up killing myself. And I say that because I took 3 bottles of sleeping pills. Like, when that night came, I felt like such a failure and such a, it would be better if I wasn't here. And I now speak about suicide with people because it is not so much that you want to be out of the life, but you want to be out of the pain. And especially for people who are empaths or clairsentient, which is absorbing all of the energy around you, it's very hard to allow yourself the strength to know I am supposed to be here. I am meant to be here. And anyway, I was just completely done. I had rationalized it in my head. I think the brain chemistry had kicked in to actually, that it made sense to me that that's what I was supposed to do. Mm-hmm. And I woke up on life support. I don't know how I got there. Woke up on life support, and my nurse was leaning over me, and she just kind of stroked my hair and said, "Nicole, God said it's not your time." And I remember being so mad, like, I literally can't even remove myself from this life, is what I felt like. And then that's when I knew. It was like, I tried everything in me to make it, to get through, to live through the pain, to, meditate, eat healthy, all these things you hear about, crystals and prayer. And to the point where I was just like, nothing's working. I must not have been meant to be here. I've always felt misplaced, so I might as well just remove myself. And then being told, no, you can't, and you're actually alive. That's when I shifted into, okay, if I'm going to be here, there must be a reason, and I need to figure out this reason, or I'm not going to make it. And I've already tried that route, so I'm going to be here. And it was sort of when I came to terms with realizing there is something in me, there is something deeper and unique. My mom always told me that I was born to show the world love since I was very, very little. And I was. That's the way I interact with people, my siblings, my relatives, everybody. It's a blessing and it's a curse, because when you love like that, you truly do, you feel the love from inside yourself that you're offering to another. And if it's not reciprocated in a safe way, you have to learn that, right? So it wasn't reciprocated to me healthfully in my marriage, and even in all of my adult life. So I had to then learn that, like, okay, I need to limit the amount of love that I put out there, which didn't feel true to me, but I had to function. So, the whole process for me was realizing there was something in me when I was born. I can look back now and see how it slowly shut off. I like to compare it to a light. It's like, you have the light, but you have to dim it down and dim it down and dim it down. And then you go through these experiences and interactions. And I learned more about manifesting. And yes, in the very beginning of my kind of onward journey, getting out of that pit, was learning about manifesting, learning about the law of attraction, learning about the law of assumption, learning about embracing the visions and the knowledge and the energy I felt, being wide open to that and letting that be my existence. And nobody shows you that, and nobody tells you that, and there isn't a school for it. So it's been a long process of accepting that, and opening to it, being willing to let that be my true being. And once I did that, it's just been this stream of knowledge, of like mind-blowing things, like, being grateful I had $1 in my wallet, and knowing something was going to come up and I would need more, and then $700 would be in my bank account and I had no idea how it got there. Lots of things started opening up for me in that way, which, some people, if you go along with the thought of manifesting, you have to learn how to balance the energy. Because if you're desperate and you need that money, what the universe hears is you have a lack. Okay, we're just this is what we know will keep you in the lack. But if you can switch it into, what would it feel like if I didn't have to worry about that bill? That's when things would happen for me. I started to learn a lot about energy and vibrations, and I've come to the point where it has transformed my life into miracle upon miracle upon miracle that I can't do anything but speak about it now. And even my youngest is now, I'm so confident in my place of being with that knowledge and wisdom and appreciation that my son even picks up on it now. Like I'll hear him say to himself, you know, oh, I just have to think a better thought. And that really is true. Like I gave some talks to some groups of people. And what I like to do when I start the talk is just to ask to everybody, you know, just close your eyes and think of the funniest thing that's ever happened to you. Just give yourself that, you know, something's going to pop up. What was so hilarious to you? And then open your eyes. And we just shifted the vibration in that room with that higher vibrational thought.
Mm-hmm.
And that can transform lives, just that little bit. It's almost like if you're at rock bottom and you want to be way up here, you can't get here from here like this. But if you're here and you think, you know, and it also takes work because it's not, you know, if there's something very hard going on for you, you can't think about that thing. You have to think about just something that's feels a little bit better. So let's say your favorite ice cream is chocolate and it doesn't attach to anything. You know, you see my baby here.
Hello.
Yes.
Kiki says that we have it on string so it doesn't fly away and it doesn't go up too far.
Yes, you can.
Okay.
Thanks for
We'll just do it. We'll just use it over here so we can look out the window and make sure.
Okay. Thank you. So just, you know, what's your favorite flavor ice cream? Okay, so you just went from here to here. Now think of the next thing. Like, okay, now, and you want to lift it till you match. Because this is a high vibration of, let's say, joy, love, peace, happiness, safety, security. This is a vibration of misery, loneliness, bankruptcy, down, down, down. You have to be able to get these to match before they can go like this. And when they go like this, then it's in your life. And there are ways of doing it. There are tools, there are resources. But I really had to find them. The other interesting thing is that I've always known that I'm like a light worker soul being in a human body. And that was affirmed to me by the people around me. Nicole is so loving. Nicole, there's something about her. She's so amazing. She's, you know, all through my life. But when I, you know, and especially doing massage therapy, I've been doing it for 26 years, having to manage, not necessarily manage, but having to realize, wow, I'm in the presence of another person's energy. Here's my energy. I'm coming, we're kind of merging. And when I leave, I don't want to take their energy with me, right? Because my hands are literally on them. So because of my profession, I really had to learn energy tools and energy work. And, you know, I wasn't raised in a house that was full of hippy dippy. I mean, my mom was very forward thinking, but she was also a clinical nurse specialist at the University of Michigan. So she was very brain, but was able to encourage my upbringing from a very heart-centered place. I knew that the world was bigger than just the little state that I lived in. I knew that people had value no matter what they looked like, how they sounded, you know, where they came from. So basically, like from 2010 was kind of my introduction to, okay, this is going to be me and I'm going to move forward as best that I can. And life got better, but there were still bumps. I call them speed bumps. You know, like it's not all great. It's not all glorious. It's not like I can say I need $1,000 and then it shows up. No, it's there. And I think that is the work that people say you have to do. The work is allowing. You have to allow yourself. It's almost like if you could unzipper yourself from your human body, what would be left? There is something in there. There's something inside, right? And when I think of it, I see like it's a cluster of energy. It's the cluster of energy. That's what's inside of you. That's your soul. That's your heart connection to yourself, to other people, to divine source, whatever name you want it to have. And if you start to kind of peel back your human shell, more of that comes out. And I got to a point where I wanted to really peel that back and see what happens if I just really let all of what's inside of me come out. And it transformed my life. There are, part of this is I'm excited to do the Q&A and the follow-up, because it kind of depends on the audience that I'm talking to, because the things that I have gone through, I can speak specifically to certain groups. Like, of course, I've been on the path of suicide, of not wanting to be here, even though I was a mother of 5 or 4 wonderful beings at the time. This, knowing I had something in me for all of my life, knowing I could feel trees and talk to trees. Abusive marriage, lost jobs. I've been in jail. I've been near to homelessness. I have lost children. I have been through the horrendous court system. I have been shunned by people. At one point, I was kind of part of a church group that was supposed to be very open-minded and spiritual. And, part of my journey were things that I did that I'm not very happy about. And there was some shunning with that. And so really, like, a lot of breaking down. It's almost like, how much can you take? Mm-hmm. How much can you take? And how do you get out of it? And when you are out of it, what does life look like then? So I would like to say I'm fully out of it, because I feel like I'm a completely wide open, energetic being now, but who knows? I mean, I still have many more years of life, I think. So I had to really learn about vibrational energy. One of the things I learned was that, like, they have scientifically studied the vibration of the human energy field. And so from your brain, thoughts from your brain can resonate out 4 feet. And then the vibrational energy of, like, your organs, like your heart, like your inner body, that can go from 4 to 40 feet. And your soul energy being goes 35,000 miles. Wow. So if you think of that, all your life that you're having any sort of energetic exchange with somebody, it's like putting a little sticker on you. So however old you are, how many stickers do you think you're covered with right now? And how do you get those stickers off? Because that's not even your own thing. And what do you do when those stickers are removed and you can be just your own true, honest, genuine, authentic self, connected to the light and the love and the pure kind of universal purpose for us being here. When I started to feel that, I also discovered that I'm a twin flame. And that brings in a whole nother dimension of living in the physical world. And I have the twin flame journey is very, very present in my life. And I love speaking about it, but there is so much misinformation out there that it does hurt my heart to think about the people who aren't getting the correct information. And so that, that's one part that I can specifically speak to with people. But just, for the broader collective, basically, it's coming to terms with, we are much bigger than what you see right here. That's the first thing. Can you let yourself feel, yep, there's something bigger than this? And then, how much of it can I let show? And there's different titles you could put to it. You could call it speaking your truth. You could call it wearing your heart on your sleeve. You could call it self-love. You could call it taking care of yourself. It's coming to, the breaking down point. And are you going to stay broken down, or are you going to open up? And so you have to allow that energy to flow. And then once you allow it to flow, you kind of have to find your tribe that will support it, because there's no school that you can go to that's going to, as far as I know, that's going to say, read this, do this, hold this, and then you're going to feel completely present, or magical. So I connected with a lot of, I'm also like, even though I'm a massage therapist, I'm aware and sensitive to, like, there is some stuff that just feels kind of too hippy dippy to me. Like, okay, that's your thing, but I don't know if it'll work for me. Would I go to someone who says they can cleanse my aura? I don't know yet, but I believe that some people can. And I would just say, you have to go with what you feel called to.
Got it. Definitely. So, while you were talking, I was kind of what came to me. And because we're going to move into the practical exercise in a couple of minutes. So what came to me was that over the last couple of years, I really was working on manifestation. And having a very busy mind, and every time sitting down and trying to imagine and feel through what I wanted to create, it's just my mind would interfere and say, but what about that? What if that? Or what if this? And everything would just fall apart. And in my meditation today, as I was sitting, I got this feeling. I was like, okay, you just have to just allow it to be whatever it is, in whatever shape or form it's gonna come. You just put like bones, and everything else will grow around it. And when you were talking about manifestation and being this space for everything else to come in and kind of work through you in a way, so it resonated with me. And I was like, it's like, this is what happened to me earlier on. I was like, what is this message? Like messages are coming through. I'm on the right path. I was like, okay, that's so interesting. And I remember for me, my breaking point was when I had kids, because I never wanted kids. I always kind of kids. I never got them in a way. And when after my second child, I really began exploring really myself and who I was and what it was kind of what it meant to be me in a way. And so your journey really resonates with me, how you began to unpeel yourself and uncover bit by bit who you were on the inside. And your entire journey is I just want to acknowledge you for your courage to share that with the viewers, because I'm sure a lot of us go through difficult journeys in our lives, and we often see a point of no solution, nor to. So hearing somebody overcome that, and even though not immediately, without help, and putting yourself together again, like bit by bit, is very inspiring. So as we move now to a next part of our interview here, what is it that you would like to share with the viewers that they can do at home if they are in that place of perhaps despair, you know, where they feel lost and they don't know what to do, and they're looking for answers that don't come? What would you like to share?
Well, it's a beautiful thing, and it's also a very hard thing, because you have to just be with yourself. You have to, it's like going deep, dark, and deep down, I guess, doesn't have to be dark, inside, being alone. You have to create space. When you create space for the better to come in, the better will come in. But if you're being sabotaged and inundated with such negative influences, and you're soaking them up, and that's all you're feeling, you're not creating any space for the new. You're just staying in this sheltered sort of, I picture like someone in a like an infant position, you know, like the fetal position, because if you get to the spot where you feel like that's the only place you can function from is the fetal position, because that's the only thing you remember feeling comfort from. You want to create space for the better, for the good to come in. And people call it different things, but it is meditation. And even for me, meditation was very hard, because we do have that brain. Like as soon as we're born, our brain turns on to think, to problem solve, to figure it out. And we grow up thinking, we got to find the solution. We got to make this work. We have to do this. We can do it. It's brain, 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 brain. And your brain is wonderfully useful for certain things. When you want to connect with your soul and your inner being, you ask your brain to just please go sit off on the shelf. It is not part of it. Your brain is not part of it. And it wants to be a part of it, because it's like, wait a minute, my job is to think and tell you stuff. So you're trying to tell me I'm not supposed to be here anymore? And so it is. I had to practice it, and I would get that, you know, I would close, you know, I like to just be still, close my eyes, take some deep breaths, you know, and there are lots of ways people say to do it, you know, focus on your breathing or listen to a sound, and those are all true. But you have to, you're now willing to come to a learning, you're willing to step into a learning process. And the new learning is set your brain off to the side. There'll be a time and a place when you need it, like what you're going to have for dinner, or, you know, something technological, or you have to figure something out. But for quieting yourself and coming into your being, you don't need your brain at all. So it just takes practice. And you know, I would recommend, it only takes like 15 minutes a day. I would meditate for 15 minutes every morning. And sometimes it took me until 14 minutes before my brain would stop. But in that last minute, there was a shift. There was a transformational, oh. And in that, oh, is when little pieces of you, like little pieces of your shell or other people's energy, flick off of you and more of you comes out. So the more you do it, the better you get at it, and the faster you're able to get to that very satori is what it's called, that place where there is peace, and you've created space for your real you to speak to you. And it's God, it's light, it's Allah, it's Buddha, it's whatever you call it. It's all there and it's all connected, but you have to ask for it. This is the other thing that I learned. So I'll tell you some of the things that I've learned, because these are the tools I'm hoping people can claim for their own. Meditation, sitting with yourself, sit quietly and just feel. That's it. Being open, acknowledging you want something better, you want something different. Imagine, like I used to imagine, sweeping out, like clearing out the space in my head, making room for new, because you're constantly, if you have a problem, you're constantly thinking about that problem, even if you don't want to. Being able to say, I'm going to sweep all that out and like energetically send it out because I want something new to come in. There are people who are speaking that I really resonate with. One of them is Esther Hicks, Abraham and Esther Hicks. But you have to have an open mind. I mean, it's kind of like a channeling message, and she now goes around and speaks, but it's really common sense. So I started getting on YouTube and just listening to Esther Hicks speak about things. And she talks a lot about vibrational energy. What you think about is what you manifest. So if you're very poor and all you're thinking about is how poor you are, you're going to get more of that. It's going to be like, yep, you're right, you're poor. But if you can retrain your brain to go back to your core beginning of being like this innocent, pure, loving light that you really are, you're making space and you're inviting it in. I learned also that like the whole universe is there to help us, and there's angels and light beings and teams and deceased loved ones, but it's almost like they can't come in unless you ask them. You have to give them permission. This is why, like in all religions, prayer, it's a core thing, because you're saying, I'm inviting you in. This is what I need. This is what I'm asking for. I'm ready to receive it. So it's a lot of mind shifting, getting out of your brain, living more from your heart, from your core, things that, if you think about like what lights you up, like nature lights me up. If I go out in nature, I'm more lit up. I'm more open and more receptive to getting the good. Even if something is bad happening, I have acknowledged, all right, this feels bad. I want to feel better. What can I do for me to feel better? And then you do it. That's part of the self-love. If you're not loving yourself and your being, where are you supposed to get the love from? Like, you're not just going to be, things aren't just going to work out for you. Like, your first step is saying, I'm valuable. I do have an inner being. I do want to connect with it, asking it to come in, allowing it to come in, and making it a new way of life. Honestly, I really wish they would teach things like this to kids in school. Things like little kids who say they see ghosts. Maybe they do. Maybe they see an energetic field that we don't with our eyes. So we can either nurture them and encourage them and say, wow, that's great. How do you feel about that? What would you like to know about it? Or we can say, you're crazy. We better take you to go see somebody. It's like you either allow it or you shut it out. And that's why I say navigating. It's a constant navigation. What are you ready to bring into your life? What are you ready to get rid of? And even if you don't know what it is, just being able to say, there's something here that isn't working for me and isn't benefiting me, and I want to get rid of it. And I just want to feel better. Just that simple statement, I just want to feel better, sends out the message and the vibrational energetic field of, oh, this person wants to feel better. How can we help make that happen? And then maybe like a butterfly will go by, or, the wind will blow in a certain way and you'll remember something. And then when that happens and you practice it more and more, you'll see the evidence. And when the evidence is shown, you can't help but go, okay, I get it. And it takes a long time, you know, clearly for some more than others. But there's a lot of pieces to it. We are not meant to be here living a life of suffering and grief and misery. In this past September is when I had really my next big awakening, to where I spent a whole weekend just getting downloaded with constant information about how the earth is in, it's perishing right now, and we need to all get together to help shift the vibration of the earth. There's no more energetic space on the earth, in the earth's atmosphere, to hold anger, resentment, hostility, violence, disgrace, you know, all the things that humanity goes against another human and creates. There's no more space for it. So we need to all shift our own vibrations to help the energetic shift of the earth get to a better vibration. So, and part of that is clearing the space and inviting the better to come in, and then living that way. And living that way, I mean, like living your true authentic self. That's what's going to present to you. When you put your true authentic self out there, it will come back to you at some point. And it's going to be in the healthiest way for you, right? Because you can't just all of a sudden get a whole bunch of information. Then that would make your brain go haywire and you'd be trying to figure it out. What?
Do you know where to is?
No, you'll have to go look with your own eyes. Okay. There are things like I learned about, you know, so meditation, cleansing your energy. It's like, and even if you have to just imagine taking a shower, it's like people like wash away that bad juju, that stuff you feel like. Do you ever walk by somebody and you're like, whoo, well, that little bit could have stuck on you. That's not you. So just, you know, allowing yourself, like just saying like, I just, you know, I'm going to cleanse it. I'm getting it off of me. I don't want to carry this. Please remove whatever isn't mine. So being able to like cleanse your own energy. And there's ways of doing that, like with essential oils or crystals or things like that. Whatever speaks to you, it's going to call you. You go and do that thing, right? The other thing that I learned about that I didn't know about were Akashic records. The Akashic records, and, you know, I hope people look this up. It's basically your soul's history on file. All of your, so all of the experiences that your energetic soul has had is on file in like the cosmic realms, basically. And you can say, I want my Akashic records cleaned up. I want you to bring them to present day. I want you to remove all the things that don't serve me well, don't serve the greater good. Please remove them, clean them up. I want to move forward in positive momentum. And it will. It's like you're cleaning out your closet. You're getting rid of the baggage. You're getting rid of the old juju. You're getting rid of, you know, but again, this is not a way of life that people are like openly speaking about. I mean, I can't go to a coffee shop and sit down and say, I can feel your soul. Would you like to talk about it? Right. Like, then you probably should go to the psych ward. Right. So it's very tricky, but find your tribe, be willing to put yourself out there, come from a place of love. If you put out love, love will come back to you and help you and guide you. You know, being raised Catholic, I have like the Lord's Prayer in my head. And when Catholicism didn't really jive with me once I got into adulthood, I was a little, you know, I'm kind of put off by dogmatic ways of spiritually being. while also honoring and recognizing that that does work for some people. So it is a helpful thing. I like to take pieces from everything. And if it feels like it's good with me, it's good with me. And just a little while ago, I came into, feeling like I needed to say the Lord's Prayer again. And it's like, well, that's interesting because I don't feel like I'm Catholic anymore. Like I don't go to Catholic church. But in saying it, I was like, that's exactly it. Like, give me this day my daily bread. Yes. Give me the nourishment I need for just this day. And I don't know what it is, but if you give it to me, then I'm fed, forgive myself, forgive others. Yes, that's valuable. I need to do that. Keep me from evil and harm, keep me from doing that. Yes, that's valuable. That's, so it's like the bigger, broader scope of basically loving. It's there and it's ready and it wants to help. And the human struggle is figuring out how to tap into it, how to retrain all the years of what we've been taught and shown in our experiences and how to handle it and how to problem solve and fix it. And that puts a lot that gets into the way. In fact, like, I'm just going to go off and be weird now because I can't even help it. One of the things that was given to me, and it's like a download, is that, oh, this is funny. Now they're saying something else. When I really got this overwhelming awakeness, I was wide open to it. It's though, like, all the love, like all the beings, right? Because it's just blobs of energy everywhere. They had on like their football jerseys and they were tailgating, like getting ready for the big game, getting ready for, the winning cup, and they were all gathered and they're like, this is great. This is the time we're waking people up so that, the big game is going to happen. And that is sort of how I get affirmation that, yep, this really is happening. I get the feeling and then I'll get a vision. It's like if I were to ask you, think of like your favorite cartoon character from when you were younger. You would get kind of a little image in your mind, right? Because it's something that you've experienced. The more like open and kind of awake is the term that I've become. When I'm in a situation, I get the vision. I can see what it is, and then it's described to me. And if I have faith in that, if I move forward with that, it always folds out to being the purpose of my path. I also every day have to ask for my path to be lit up because I don't know what it is exactly I'm supposed to be doing that day. So I'm like, okay, I know my intention is this. I want to do good. I want to help people. I want to share information. You light it up for me and I'll do it. So the part of like the work is, do you want it? And if you do, can you open to when you feel that nudge or ask for the nudge? Do you move in that direction?
Yeah, or do you just dismiss it and go the other
way? Right,
way?
because it's very hard. I mean, you could, people could say, oh, that, that's just your, you saw something from before and that made you think that way. But if you really sit and think with it, all the explanations people come up with are thought of. It's well, your brain was designed to do that. Yes, you're right. The brain was designed to do this. I'm not talking about the brain. I'm talking about this other thing that has been scientifically studied, but you don't see it. You can't, it's not like it's a thing, but it's there. And if you feel it, and you're willing to be open with it and go in the direction of how it makes you feel, then it can happen. It can, you have to do the work of realizing it's almost like you're going to shift your reality. That's the best way I can describe it. You were this way, but now you're open to what comes next. And then what's next is a different reality. And it's more supportive. It's more loving. It's less struggle. It's less trauma. It's less pain.
More trust.
It's much more trust. And it's a lot of vulnerability. A lot.
So I'm a bit mindful of the time, wow, thank you, definitely.
Yeah.
I can hear the wisdom coming out of you. It's like all the life experiences and everything else is just amazing. And I suppose, you know, if we had more time, we could have went any direction, either Akashic records or the soul, the energy, and this and the, right? Because there's so much, and
yes.
so one just has to trust themselves and go and explore what it is for them, because as you rightfully said, you know, there's different things for different people. And likewise, I may resonate working with, let's say, psychedelics, you know, but another person would look at it and say, oh, I don't want to go there, you know, it's too deep, it's too, like, it takes away all of your control, you know, I don't want to do that. And I can totally understand that. And then, you know, one person may do yoga and another one would say, no, but I need something more active, you know, something that will really ground me, really tire me out, you know, that I can come home and just collapse on the couch with, you know. So I suppose for our viewers, just do find whatever inside of yourself you feel is yours, what calls you, what draws you, and you know, be around people that you can be yourself with, that you can be really vulnerable self with, right? And without fear, right? Because
and that's very difficult. That's very difficult in this world. I mean, even I think people tend to be afraid of kindness. Even it's almost like, what do you want from me? Why are you being nice to me? And so it's a constant, like, ooh, I'm genuinely just being kind, coming up against somebody who's like, I have to protect myself. You know, and so there's a lot of being vulnerable, but you can change your life. You really can. Everybody has this superpowers. We really do. It's just, at what point are you ready? And just take a little taste of it and see how it works for you. That's what I would say. Everybody has this tiny little thing in them. Even if you've shut it down for years and years and years and years, it's there. And you know it's there. And you might have to crash and burn before you can say, I'm going to get that back out. Or can you just say, I know it's there, and let's see what this is about. You know, and then it is trying to get in touch with the right people who have had experiences. That is very valuable. That's why I'm continuing to speak and giving speaking engagements and wanting to be out there, because it's very scary. It's very lonely. It's very confusing. And you also have to function as a human being, like going and getting gas and going to the grocery store. And you can't have these conversations everywhere. So that keeps your shell on, right? So just taking some time in your life to let that shell come off a little. It's like the blossoming of a flower. I mean, it is the awakening. It is the opening.
Definitely. Nicole, thank you very much.
Yes.
Thank you very much for sharing your wisdom. And I am more than certain that our viewers will benefit from all of your wisdom and knowledge that you have shared today, and your story as well. Is there anything that you would like to offer to the viewers if they would like to connect with you after watching this interview?
Yes. So I'm going to go ahead and give out my email. I'm going to give my direct email. I'm working on a website, but it's not up and running yet. So eventually I'll have a website up and running where you can go and read a little bit about all the experiences that I've had, hopefully to find one that connects with you to help you on your journey. And then be able to set up a time with me where we can talk. I say, you know, one of my things is I'm a soul communicator. So this Zoom thing is a little foreign to me, because usually I'm present with the person, and then I get all the, you know, I resonate with, you know, their inner being. But I've done a couple things by Zoom, and it's still, I think that, I mean, it's working fine. So happy to do that. So my email, you want me just to say it?
You can say it, and also this information will be available below this video, so how people can connect with you. The email will be there. Also the link to the Facebook group where they can ask questions. And so if you'd like to say
so I'm wide open for questions and answers. I would like to be helpful for people who feel lost and struggling and don't know where to go. My email, this will just come directly to me. It's NIC, so short for Nicole, .LANKER@gmail.com. And if you want to just put in the subject line, just put soul, and then I'll know how you found me. And eventually I'll have a whole website up, and people can click a time for that. So
good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Wonderful. So thank you very much for watching this. I hope it was as beneficial for you as it was for me, sitting and listening to Nicole's story. Yeah, I suppose that's it. Thank you.
Wonderful. Okay.